All right. Oh, I'm thinking of today. Hello, hello. I'm thinking of back to basics and ordinary magic. And I just have to share. I have all these flowers around our yard that come up that some of them are in places that just aren't seen by many people. Maybe the birds enjoy them. And these roses are sort of they've evolved from, I think the previous owner had all these exotic kinds of roses that these dark ones were a vine right outside. When we first moved here, it was some hybrid that it smelled like strong wine. You could smell it. But now apparently the hybrids, if they're not cultivated a certain way, or they devolve back to their kind of origin, something like that happens. So now it's sort of a wild kind of rose. And then some are my what are those new roses that thrive so well? Knockout roses. That's got some of those too. Welcome, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. So glad to have this opportunity to practice together. Practicing alone is great and fulfilling, but together is even more special. So today we will be doing what might be called a yin practice or a restorative practice, or the people I study with call it embodied repose. So I'm going to do the pose. You'll have a choice. We'll basically go into four different positions. One will be a forward fold. One will be a very gentle twist. One will be a gentle back bend, and then a pose of your choice as we do a kind of specified breathing practice. I'm going to do it from seated. You could do this in a chair. You could do this in a bed. And once you see the general shape that I'm suggesting, that will hold for a couple minutes, each of them, you can do it in a different position. You could do it from lying down, on your back, on your belly, any of your choice. Just see the shape of the body. And after that, in the final one, when we do the breathing, you might stay there for a meditation or come up to seated for meditation. And always, as I say these words as sort of yoga poses, if that brings up some kind of resistance in you, welcome. Just hello, resistance. Hi there. I know you. um, this is it's very gentle. You don't need to be doing exercise of any kind. And certainly because we're holding the poses a longer time, it's almost like when I was thinking of the twist, it's just like you could think of yourself turning to look at something, just something you do in your ordinary goings abouts. So I was mentioned, I usually have kind of themes that guide me. One is the ordinary magic of amazing flowers that come up, some of us through our labor, and some like the wonderful mullein plant that Jackie's taught me about that somehow has popped up here I haven't harvested it yet. It comes up most years. It's a lot like lamb's ears, a very soft, big leaf, and then it throws a shoot of this flower way high and these yellow flowers. The mullein plant, I think, is good for respiratory things. So I should pick some of those leaves and dry them and try that out. Anyhow, let's get to it. The bell. So you can start from seated. Your choice, any position. You might follow how the bell brings you right into yourself as you arrive. And just for a few moments before we take this first shape with our body, just see what's meeting you as you follow the bell sound into yourself. What body sensations? What confirmation that the ground is supporting you, the physical support under you? How breath is flowing. Thank goodness, even if somewhat restricted at first meeting. And as we meet these things, in particular, as I mentioned the breath, as we meet it, we also feel we have some choices about what's next with it. Maybe I can relax more and give the breath more space to nourish me more fully. Perhaps there's just a sense of the support in another way of just having the the good luck, the good fortune of having a warm home if if we're in a cold place, a cool home if we're in a warm place, the protection we need to keep ourselves fairly comfortable or very comfortable, the support of our families and friends, or and the whole network. I love to think of the whole chain of how let's say my lemons in the hot water I have here, how they got to me, the trucks, the grocery stores, the pickers of the lemons, the people who planted the seeds of the lemon tree in the first place. And then as you're ready, and you can just let those various visitors, I was suggesting those, but we're sensing them all the time. So meet them as you can, with more and more alertness, calm alertness. As we move toward our forward fold, I'm going to sit with my legs in what's called like a butterfly position, where the soles of my feet are together. And not fully on this view. I'd want to stay close enough that you can hear me well. And then my arms can support me. You can just round your back, like lots of yoga classes might have you get a long spine, hinge from the hips. You don't have to do any of that. This is kind of floppy yoga. Just let yourself round. I have my hands on my ankles for now. Your head bow, and just let your whole body become sort of round and feel the roundness. I can imagine around the shape I'm making that I'm kind of a sphere. We've been talking a lot for the last few weeks of spheres and circles. Here's another one, a big beach ball. And so just make sure this is really comfortable, because as I said, we'll be here a couple minutes. And in this pose, I do find it true, and you can find out, test this for yourself through your practice. You may have already found forward bends like this are quieting. It's a little bit of like a hibernation, a turning inward. So my invitation for this pose is to be on the gentle lookout for quiet. In the same way, you might be walking through the woods and hoping to see some kinds of birds. That same open, receptive attitude of knowing it's probably there, being willing to suspend other thinking, other projects, not to give them up forever, just suspend them for quiet. And your quiet, like mine, might be pierced with bird song, with a sudden reminder to yourself, a tangential daydream. You can just watch all of those as if they're clouds that are drifting by rather than impositions. Your position does not have to have severe stretches. A little bit of stretches is good, but I would err toward gentle opening rather than stretches. So in these quiet, long-held poses, it's also useful to just do be on the lookout also for some place that's tightening up, clenching, physical clenching, that you have an easy option of letting go, like in the jaw. And I'm just sort of reporting what happens here. And when you're ready, if you're enjoying being where you are, remember you're in charge. You could stay where you are for longer or return if whenever you want. I'm coming up to more upright seated and just pausing here. And the next, well, I'm just pausing a little longer. Just when we pause, we can feel, listen for sort of like the review of just happened floods into this new moment, this new shape, new perspective. And the next shape, as I mentioned earlier, is a twist. I'll show you, I'm making a particular shape with my legs. It is sometimes called a square knot in the yin yoga world, where my feet are not tightly tucked in, but they're more close to my knees. And my shins are roughly parallel to each other. And that can be a little intense, so you can loosen it by taking the knees a little wider. And then from that position, right now, my left shin is in front. I'm just going to turn a little bit to the right, just very slightly, just so it's a place easy to be. And I just tucked in my feet a little bit more. In fact, I'm going to place something under. Good to have things like cushions, pillows around. I happen to have a block nearby. I just need some support for my leg. And then you can lean onto your hand. I'm leaning onto my right hand as I turn right. My left hand is just rested. So again, not an intense twist or pose, but just a, what did I call it? Opening. Just an openings in a different direction. And your torso can be leaned forward a bit, can be leaned back, can be just at center, upright. So again, just as if you've turned to listen to somebody speaking to the side of you, or something in nature, something in that woods, walk in the woods that's drawing your attention. So that the neck, shoulders, eyes can be closed, by the way. And the whole connectedness of you is content. And as you breathe here, welcome the visitors that come physically, mentally, heartfully, thoughtfully. I'll, of course, read a poem. This poem is Green Canoe. Green Canoe by Jeffrey Harrison. I don't often get the chance any longer to go out alone in the green canoe and, lying in the bottom of the boat, just drift to where the breeze takes me, down to the other end of the lake, or into some cove without my knowing, because I can't see anything over the gunwales but sky. I can't see anything but sky over the gunwales as I lie there, feeling the ribs of the boat as my own, this floating pod with a body inside it. Also a mind that drifts among clouds and the sounds that carry over the water. A flutter of bird song, a screen door slamming shut, as well as the usual stuff that clutters it, but slowed down, opened up, like the fluff of milkweed tugged from its husk and floating over the lake, to be mistaken for mayflies at dusk by feeding trout, or be carried away to a place where seeds might sprout. So together we might imagine we're in our own green canoe, allowing ourselves to be alert and yet calm, these very basics of our yoga practice. I heard it put another way in a Hidden Brain podcast this morning as fully engaged, calmly detached. And then as you're ready, let's shift from this position through center. You're twisted to one side. Just come through center and stay at center for a little bit. Take a stop there, a pause. See what's here. And you might even just make note, bring special attention to what words come to you in terms of labeling of what it is that you're feeling here. And often those words come by themselves. So it's more a kind of a matter of just acknowledging, oh, I feel, for me, just to report, to model and report, I feel You can feel a deeper calmness than before, deeper quiet right in the center. And as you decide, as you're making your decision that you don't have to commit to yet to the other side, my plan was going to be change the position of my legs, so the other leg is in front, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. But I might not. If you think about what was your plan, you have to. I'll mention in a moment. You might decide, oh, I'm going to lay on my back and do a twist to the other side, or I don't know, get up in a chair. So see what you'd like to do, or have my legs way differently positioned, tucked in close, stretch out in front, and so take your shape to the other side of the twist. And as you go into it, even if you're doing something quite different, you may notice the differences that are felt from one side to the other. And so we've cultivated quite a bit of quiet and presence and alertness, a calm alertness. And that's a good resource to remember we have. Remember it kind of in a cellular, spontaneous way. And now I'll invite you to invite, and this could be a small one, could be a small quandary in your life, something that's perplexing you, frustrating you. And you can decide. I'm suggesting small because this kind of practice can be kind of intense if you start with like the biggest problem in your life. And so you could start with, oh, I just have so many things to do this afternoon, and how am I going to choose which ones they are? Or yeah, something small. And it's your choice to ratchet that up to something a little more potent. With the knowledge, with the visceral knowledge that we have our practice of quiet and calmness as support, spaciousness, choices and options, support from the people in our lives, the strength we have. And just notice as you've brought that quandary to mind, its textures and flavors, its characteristics. How it feels to be entertaining that, not just in your mind, but in your body and your heart and your throat and your belly. And just there's nothing else you need to do with that quandary except to notice the kind of feelings and sensations it engenders in your body, in yourself. Just as if to get to know it a little better, as if it's not necessarily an antagonist, but perhaps a guide or a friendly visitor, as the guest house poem suggests. Another poem I often reference, and many of you know. And then we're going to let that quandary go for a little while. And just like you might say to a friend, or a friend you might be having a little struggle with, I'll see you later. We'll resume later. Just let that one go and come back to breath, quiet, that green canoe feeling. And make your way back to center. And I'm going to combine the next set of things just because time seems to move so quickly here. But take a moment to feel where you are, feel your breath. And decide on the shape that you'd like to be, your body to be in for our final meditation. And I'm going to choose sitting, but I'm going to sit up on a cushion. And you might be lying down. And arrive again. Sense the quiet and the stillness that is here, even if there's little movements and sounds, activity around, maybe even way in the distance, but it's there. We're connected to those things out there. Just a little note about the fully engaged, calmly detached. The detached refers to not to not that we're checked out or that we don't care, but that we're not concerned about the outcome ahead, that we have no control over. But what we can be is just calmly and fully committed to ourself right here and what we are and what we can do, and not concerned about the future that we really cannot control the outcome. We can hope for it and use it as part of our goal making, but we tie ourselves in knots if we try to grasp at controlling it too much. So fully engaged, calmly engaged. Let's say. Double the engagement. And so now as we commit towards stillness very soon, I'll invite you to observe your breath, and I'm going to set a cadence for a pattern for the breath, and you make it fit for you. It's called sometimes a box breath these days. And the idea is you can draw 4 sides. It's really square breath. And one side, I'm going to say going up, you can count maybe 3 beats to breathing in. Then pause and hold that in breath, counting 3 beats, or maybe it's just 2, that's fine, or maybe it's 4. Then 3 beats the third side of the box as you breathe out, and 2, 3, or 4 beats holding after the exhale. So 4 sides of a box that you trace for breathing in, holding that breath, maybe a little bit of opening of the front chest, heart as you're doing that. Exhaling, relaxing that opening, pausing. So I often also call this the 4-count breath. Just a few more rounds. You can decide this might be your last round or the next one or two, and then just segue into a couple minutes of stillness and silence, maybe about 3 minutes of our meditation together. Enjoy the journey, the little journey. In a couple more breaths, we'll formally end this practice of meditation. And you can decide if you want to stay where you are for our closing that ends with a bell and a bow. The bow can be just in your imagination, it can be by bringing your palms together at your heart and bowing. And I also invite you at that, as you do that practice, it just comes down, handed down to us from years of tradition, from many traditions, but also to feel how it lives in you, what it signifies for you in your body, in your heart and mind. So it's both very personal and yet universal. And a message, an expression to yourself and an expression outward. I'm reminded as I feel my own bow of for some reason, the humility, that aspect came up strong just now, in addition to gratitude and honoring respect. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you so much. And one of today's themes is just back to some of our basics, just the alertness and calmness together that is often the basis of yoga practices. And one of the first things when I delved into yoga in the 1990s, one of the first classes I took at a Gold's Gym across the street from where I worked, I was so grateful for the feeling of both calmness and alertness after I practiced that we're there together. So some of you probably felt that. So thank you all. And I want to also welcome Cassidy was signed up. She might be watching later. So thank you. I'm going to go say goodbye to the YouTube folks and then wrap up here on Zoom, and some of you can stay and chat if you like. Thank you from Vermont. Okay. Ciao, YouTubers. See you next week.